If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by the boys, Kyle Lynch and Matt Beck, and today is the big episode, boys. It is I'm going to do the math in my head real quick, 2020, 2021, 22, 23. This is our fifth Game of the Year episode. I can't believe we were already on our fifth one of these. That is...
Congratulations.
That's kind of the top 10 Game of the Year episode turns 5 today. That means it can officially go to school. And we know what happens at schools. I'm not going to finish that joke. I'm not going to finish that joke and get us canceled. But it was a fun year in gaming. It was a little bit of a down year. And I think that this list, at least, I think maybe the bottom part of this list maybe more or less reflects that a little bit. But we still had some fantastic games. I think the top three, the order might be subjective, but I think we got the three best games into the top three this year. I think all three of them were fantastic games, and I'm excited to see them. And I would also say, and I told Matt this when we went and saw Sonic 3 yesterday, this is by far the most unexpected list I think we've had in 5 episodes of doing this episode. I think that there are going to be a lot of surprises on this list for y'all. So first, let's go over, I'll change up the order a little bit from what we discussed. Let's go over the games that we each voted for that didn't make the list, because by my count, this is one of the longest versions of this list that we've had. It might be the longest. It might be second. I think 2021 might have been a little bit longer. So the games that received votes but did not make the list in no particular order were Tekken 8, WWE 2K24, Hellblade 2, Another Crab's Treasure, Metaphor. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the second part of that, Matt. I don't know how that's pronounced.
Metaphor ReFantazio.
Okay, yeah, I would have butchered that. And then I think if you listened to Side Mission all year long, which first of all, we appreciate you, this will be the biggest surprise. Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade received votes, but did not make the list. I will go ahead and admit that one of those votes was because Kyle wanted to put Pokemon TCG on his list. It's a fucking mobile game that we were not counting. So, honestly, looking back, even with Stellar Blade, a lot of really good games on there. In fact, one of those that at the Game Awards was a Game of the Year finalist in Metaphor. So, a really, really good list of games that received votes but did not make it. I know you each had a game you wanted to talk about that maybe you didn't vote for that almost made the list. So, Kyle, I'll start with you because I don't know what your game is. Matt did vote for the game he wants to talk about, even though it doesn't fit the criteria. But Kyle, what game did you almost vote for but just didn't make the cut?
Honestly, I came real close to putting Sonic X Shadow Generations on there just because of how good Sonic Generations already was, and them adding a whole second game to it and still selling it for the same price. I loved it. I thought that everything that they added to it was cool, but the only reason I didn't include it was because technically half of the game was a remaster, so we had like a Bowser's Fury Mario 3D World situation, so I just decided not to leave it in, but that would be my honorable mention.
Matt, I already know that yours is Metaphor, so go ahead and I'll let you talk about it for a little bit because I know we did not do an episode on it. So why was that your honorable mention?
Well, Metaphor ReFantazio, for anybody who has played the Persona games, they kind of follow the same kind of time. Like you basically have a calendar year, and each different day there's different events that occur, just like in Persona. And that kind of is the same way it is here in Metaphor ReFantazio. And I love JRPGs, so I really enjoyed the combat system. I started playing it with the demo before the game came out, and it was a very long demo. I put a lot of time into it. And then once the game officially released, I played some more. I have maybe put about 10 something hours into the game, and my progress tracker literally says I am probably about 20% done. So I know this is a very long game. So I completely understand why we did not cover it. And it did get really good reviews, and that was one of those things that piqued my interest. I think that the combat system is fantastic, especially with the inclusion of the different classes. And it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors type of combat system where some are more effective against specific types of enemies. The music is just really, really gorgeous. Like, very what you expect from JRPGs. Like, it's up to upbeat music. The battle music is really good as well. I like the story. It's a little bit kind of. I will say it is very political. Different races are pretty much what you had, say racist towards others. A lot of things like that, which I don't want to touch too much into. But it definitely is a standout game this year. It did get quite a few nominations for Game of the Year from different places. So I think it got the recognition it deserved.
Matt, you got very lucky because Kyle beat me to the "please wrap it up" meme. I was looking for it in the middle of him posting it. I was looking for it. But I could kind of say it says that me and you are always on the same wavelength, and that's kind of proof of it even further. So, one last game that we want to talk about, and again, we're not going to spend necessarily too much time on it, but as we go through this list, there's going to be a game that is absent, so to say. A game that was absent that was a finalist for Game of the Year, and that is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Want to go ahead and speak for all three of us for a second. None of us agreed with Jeff Keighley making the decision to make Shadow of the Erdtree a Game of the Year finalist. None of us agreed with that because while Shadow of the Erdtree was fantastic and was one of the best things in gaming to come out this year, if we did count it, I'd imagine it would probably finish in the top 3 of the list. It's not a new game. It's ultimately an expansion for Elden Ring. And while I'm sure there are going to be people out there that hear that and are like, well, I mean, it's basically a game. Basically, sure, but it's not. It's not a full game. Now, that logic will not apply next year to Elden Ring Night Rain. That will count because that is a complete standalone game. That is not an expansion. So if us not counting Shadow of the Erdtree worried you into thinking, are they going to count Night Rain? That will be eligible next year. So next year, by the way, which is looking very, very stacked if a bunch of games come out. Witcher 4, Borderlands 4, Night Rain, GTA 6. There's a lot of big stuff that's supposedly coming next year. So that is going to be an exciting time. Now for the actual list. And as I was looking through the list just now, I think what I like most about this list is I feel like every part of the year is represented in this list. There are games from earlier in the year, there's games from the summer, there's games from the fall, and yes, there is games as recent as November, December on this list. So I like that we kind of encapsulated the entire year into this list. So I told you guys that these first 3 spots we're going to go through pretty quickly. At number 10, it had 4 points, and even with 4 points, it was on the list by a fairly safe margin. I think all the games that received votes, for the most part, got 3 points or less. I think one of them might have gotten 3 points. Maybe. I don't believe any of them did. But it's one that I'm going to let Kyle take the lead on because it is a game that I know you were really excited for. And it's a game that while it wasn't exactly brand new in 2024, it felt like new. And that was Dead Rising Deluxe coming in at number 10. So Kyle, you put this game fairly high on your list. Why did you do that?
You know, when I got done with the Platinum, was very relieved to be done with the game. And while I did have a lot of complaints, what I can say is that looking back on it, I'm really glad that this game did get a remaster and did come out so that way other people got to experience it who never got to play the first one, and because it sets up for an awesome sequel. And I'd be lying if I was saying that even though there were a lot of frustrating parts, I did have a hell of a lot of fun platinuming that game. There were like 2 trophies that I absolutely hated. And it was the surviving 7 days and killing, like 53,000 zombies, whatever, just because of how time-consuming they were. Other than that, though, I had a pretty damn good time with the game, and I'm really excited to see what they do next. I really didn't expect to put it so high on my list, but looking back, because, some of the games that were below it, I either didn't go for the platinum because I didn't care about them as much, or I went for the platinum, like with Stellar Blade, just because it was easy, and that didn't necessarily mean I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Stellar Blade's platinum was awful. So a lot of people probably hear what you just said, and they'll say, well, you just said remaster, why did we allow it on the list? And Kyle, that is because you came to me and you told me you wanted to put it on the list, and we agreed, and I think all 3 of us unanimously agreed when we played it, this is more of a remake. They can call it a remaster, but this felt a lot more like a remake, and I will say, Kyle, the care they put into the game, I think it deserved at least a mention on the list.
Oh, agreed, yeah.
So, Dead Rising Deluxe comes in at number 10. Now, Matt is going to be taking the lead on number 9. And through really no fault of the game, it was more, I think, for me and Kyle, a little bit of a lack of interest, not a ton of time to really get to play this game. It's another one we didn't do an episode on, but it's one that's reviewed really well. Matt, you've had a lot of great things to say about it. So number 9 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So Matt, why did that make it onto your list?
So it made it onto my list because I am a fairly big fan of Indiana Jones. Outside of the more recent, movies, but the older ones like Raiders of the Lost Ark, those ones, I enjoyed those. It was part of my childhood. I grew up watching those with my dad. And this game, it takes place back in, it feels very much like you expect an Indiana Jones game to feel. On top of that, this game came out on Game Pass, and there's always been this kind of feeling about, oh, it's a Game Pass game. It's going to have like a certain feeling to it, but no, this absolutely was a fantastic game. It was developed by the Machine Games, who made the Wolfenstein franchise. It really makes you feel like you are Indiana Jones, honestly. Like, the exploration is fantastic, the characters, the story is really good as well, without getting too much into it. One of the very first areas that you're in is you're in Rome, and Indiana Jones takes the place of a Catholic priest as his cover, and you can have different disguises. One thing that I really like is when you go into certain areas, Nazi camps, if you're not wearing the right outfit, you'll immediately be spotted. But if you're wearing the right disguise, you can get away with more stuff. And they did a fantastic job here. I really wish this game had come out earlier in the year to give it more of, the shine that it really did deserve. I really like the fact that on top of that, Troy Baker, he's voicing Indiana in this game, and he does a fantastic job. I was blown away. He sounds just like Harrison Ford. Without actually being Harrison Ford, I was like, oh, it's like he's actually, Harrison Ford is actually doing the voice of him.
Which is impressive.
It really is. Some of the set pieces in this game are really cool. There was one right before you get to the next area, to the second area, where I'm currently at right now. There's a giant blimp, and that you, as Indiana Jones, jump onto it, and you're climbing on rope, trying to climb up it as it's, flying over the skies of Rome. And it's just really great. The set pieces are fantastic. A lot of scenes feel like it's just from the movies. It's got the perfect sense of, this perfect humor. I think the villain, Voss, is really well done. People who watch Indiana Jones know who Voss is, so it was fantastic.
You mean the Far Cry villain?
No, no, not that boss.
Fair enough. Different boss. Fair enough. Yeah, Indiana Jones is definitely one that I've got on my list of games I'd like to give a try to, just because I've heard you say some really good things about it. So the fact that we didn't give it an episode, I'm glad that we at least get to talk about it a little bit here. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in at number 9. Number 8 is the last game that we have to talk about like this, and I am not going to spend a ton of time on it just because I think that Darius, Isaac, and I spent enough time in the episode that we did about it to give it its shine. And it is actually a side mission first. It is the first time ever that we have got a sports game on the top 10, and that is at number 8, EA College Football 25. So, again, you're probably hearing, well, how in the hell or why in the hell does that make it onto the list? If you're a big sports fan like I am, you know why it made the list. It's exactly what it needed to be. And the way I've always said that, we talk, and Kyle, we've talked about this a lot. We've seen games absolutely take the industry by storm. We've seen games absolutely take over when, you get onto your friends list on PlayStation or Xbox or on Steam, like everybody is playing it. There was a solid about a month and a half, 2-month stretch where I got on PlayStation, and if there were 15 of my friends online, 13 of them would be playing this game. And I think that it did so many things right, and it's an even further indictment on Madden being as bad as it was this year, that EA was able to get this game so right, but Madden came out, and it was still just as atrocious as ever. So EA College Football 25, again, don't want to spend a ton of time on it because Darius, Isaac, and I did a fantastic episode on it. You can go listen to that to hear all of our thoughts in detail about what we liked about it. But we're into the top 7, and from here on out, these are all games that the three of us at least experienced and played at least some of. So let's go from here. Number 7, funny enough, as I just said all that, is a game that only me and Matt played. I think you played it, Kyle, but I don't think you played that much of it. But I don't think that was because you didn't like it. I think it was because there's a lot of stuff out when it came out, and I think that you eventually will go and you'll play it and you'll love it. But I have gone on record with Matt saying that this is one of the best reviews Side Mission has ever done, and that is at number 7. Life is Strange Double Exposure. So, Matt, we talked a lot about this game on the episode. I think the episode was about 35, 40 minutes long. For a two-person episode, that is, for us, that's a really lengthy episode for just two of us. It felt like, Matt, the one thing we kept saying over and over again was just how seamlessly every piece of this game fit together, from the story to the characters, the powers that are introduced, the concepts that are introduced, the environment that it takes place in. It's all seamlessly woven together, and to be honest, I think that this is another one of those games that I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to play several times through, similar to True Colors. What did you like most about Double Exposure?
Honestly, I think what I liked most about it is Max's new powers in this game worked really well, especially with the title being Double Exposure. Like Max being able to traverse through two different timelines or multiverse type of thing, or one where her friend is still alive and the other one where where she died, and it makes it a really good kind of a mystery. You want to solve the mystery about what happened, and then it just goes really crazy. It goes really out there. And it all ties together just as batshit crazy as it was when you discovered these new powers that Max had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'd be very easy for the powers of being able to jump from one timeline to another. It'd be very easy for that to be convoluted. Yeah. And yet I felt like this was very fresh. I felt like the way they did it, it made it easy to kind of understand and again, comprehend what's happening and why her being able to do that. I feel like also as well, and I said this on the episode, it's such a better power than being able to rewind time. Rewinding time is kind of a cop-out power in the sense that, something bad happens, you can just rewind time and fix it. And I think one of my favorite parts of the game was how, with Max, we have this character who has learned that, hey, having powers is cool. Having powers is great. But if you become over-reliant on them, if you use them too often, there are serious consequences to them. So I love how the game explored that as well. I think that Max is one of the most well-voiced characters of the year. I think that she was, I don't know the voice actress off the top of my head, but she did a fantastic job, and I really, again, loved her performance, loved all the characters. Even the characters you're not supposed to like, you don't end up disliking them because they're bad characters or because they're poorly written. You dislike them because the performances are so good that the voice actors and actresses that portray them end up just knocking it out of the park. So Life is Strange Double Exposure, fantastic game. If you've not given a Life is Strange game a try, this is a phenomenal one to jump in on, because even though you've not played the others, I think it does a lot of making itself its own game. It doesn't over-rely on Arcadia Bay or Chloe. It doesn't really over-rely on any of that. And I like that this felt like something that branched off of that, but it didn't rely on any of that. So Life is Strange Double Exposure, number 7 on the list. Now we'll get into the games that all three of us have played, because the final 6, all three of us have played, and to my knowledge, all three of us have played each of these very extensively. So number 6, with 14 points, it was a single point away from being in the top 5. A single point. And when this game first came out, I think that at the time we all said, it's a down year. This could win Game of the Year. It didn't. It wasn't a finalist, but it was still a phenomenal game. And it is Rise of the Ronin, coming in at number 6. So Rise of the Ronin, a point outside the top 5. Kyle, I think we both platinumed this game. Did all three of us?
We did.
All three of us.
Oh, all three of us platinum. I wanted to make sure I gave everybody credit there. Yeah, we all platinumed it, and I think that it's something to be said that it's not necessarily the easiest platinum in the world. It's pretty extensive what you have to do. The fact, Kyle, that all three of us went and platinumed it says a lot of good things about this game.
Yeah, I feel like this should win the award of most slept on game of the year. And yeah, I gotta say, if you're listening to this episode, you have a PlayStation 5 and you have not played Rise of the Ronin, pick that up. It is worth more than just about every other game that came out this year on PlayStation 5. It's, I don't know, I loved it. I didn't even think that I was gonna like it that much. Getting in and playing for a couple of hours, I was like, all right, this is kind of fun. But as I kept playing, I found myself just really, really enjoying the combat. The story is fun. It's very realistic, the way they take you through different years, and you kind of start to see their civilization progressing. I thought that was really interesting. But man, this game absolutely highlights exploration, traversal, and combat, because I feel like it got compared to Ghost of Tsushima a lot. I would say this game's traversal and combat is better than Ghost of Tsushima, because not only did you have the multiple stances that you could do, I really, really enjoyed the fact that we had different weapons we could switch out from, as well as the glider. That changed the game. The glider and the grappling hook, I feel like, really changed the damn game, because there was just so much shit you could do when it came from, gliding from rooftop to rooftop, trying to take out enemies stealthy so that way you don't get caught, because these areas are big. Usually you're in kind of a city area. Most of the game you're in cities. It's not very often that you go off and you're just out, in the wild. But them having all those hooks around, so pretty much wherever you were running in the city, you could grab onto a hook and glide around. I just loved the traversal. I thought that it was great paired with the combat. This game is one of my favorites from this year.
Matt, one thing Kyle just said that I would love to hear you elaborate on further, and I agree wholeheartedly, is that this game felt like it saw Ghost of Tsushima as a great template, as a great blueprint. And it said, okay, Ghost of Tsushima is a phenomenal game, holds up really well to this day. What can we do to innovate further on top of it, to deepen the combat, deepen the traversal, deepen the exploration? What can we do on top of that? And I feel like it succeeds across the board, like Kyle just said. All the weapons, the ways that you get around, the ways that it makes the glider viable, even in places when you feel like it might not be. I feel like the only place that this game didn't improve on was maybe in the story, but even the story of seeing feudal Japan and its advancement in technology and how things are constantly being improved upon and kind of the growth of society and how it improved in that time period. I do feel like this game, Matt, looked at Ghost of Tsushima and said, okay, we're going to use the basis of this game, but on top of it, we're going to go all in on making everything just 10 times deeper.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I was pleasantly surprised how ignored that this game was.
Yeah.
You know, with Game Awards, like it didn't get nominated for a single thing, and it came out like a month before Stellar Blade. So, but Stellar Blade still got a couple of nominations here and there. But I was shocked when this game didn't get anything because I thought it was really well done. I also really liked the fact that there are two factions that you could join, the pro shogunate and the anti shogunate. And I like the fact that each of the different factions are represented by real life historical figures in this time area. So that was really cool. And honestly, I like the mission style as well. When you start a mission, you have the option to, depending on which faction you're closest with, you can go through those characters as you build, closer bonds with them. And have them, join you in those missions, especially if you play them on repeat. And then on top of that, you can also have go online and have friends join you for those missions too. I like the fact that it was, first and foremost a single player game, but it did have it did give you those options to have, friends play the missions with you online, which was really cool. I'll say my only negative is don't make me hunt 100 cats ever again for a trophy. It was okay for the first 50 or so, but yeah.
Yeah, hunting cats at some point did wear a little bit thin, but I think that if that is the biggest complaint you have in the game, it speaks very, very highly. And I mean, I think we're all three in agreement. Kyle, you said it best. Most slept on game of 2024. It's Rise of the Ronin, and it's not particularly close. I mean, this game deserved a lot better than it got from the Golden Joysticks, from the Game Awards. Across the board, it deserved better. I almost wish because of that it had made it into the top 5, but then I look at our top 5 and I realize, damn, these are 5 great games. Like, these are 5 games in front of it that are heavy, heavy hitters this year. So, our 10 to 6, in case you missed anything, which if you did and you're listening to this after it's already been recorded, I wonder how you missed anything. Number 10 was Dead Rising Deluxe. Number 9, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Number 8, EA College Football 25. Number 7, Life is Strange Double Exposure. And number 6, Rise of the Ronin. Boys, are you ready to hear this year's top 5?
Let's get it.
So at number 5, and again, it made it by 1 point. It was a return to form for a franchise that's been around since all of us were gaming. And it was a franchise that very sorely needed a win, and it absolutely got it this year. Number 5 is Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Damn.
So it made it in just 1 point over Rise of the Ronin. Funny enough, just 40 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago, I was on Liberty Falls getting my new high round. So that tells you anything, even now on December 23rd, and we're recording this, like, it's a game that has managed to stick. And Kyle, I think the biggest part of all this is one of the first CODs in a long, long time to nail all 3 facets of the game, of the content in it. The campaign is phenomenal. The multiplayer is phenomenal. The zombies is phenomenal. As good as Modern Warfare 2019 was in 2 of those areas, the Spec Ops is ultimately where it faltered a little bit. But Black Ops 6, Kyle, I mean, what more can you say? We've spent a ton of hours on this game. I think this game is worthy of being in the top 5.
Agreed. Yeah, this game, it blew my mind when it came to Call of Duty. I gotta be honest, like, Modern Warfare 2019 really was the last Call of Duty that I think I thoroughly just enjoyed everything about it. I played it nonstop. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was very different when it came out. And every game since then has been, I don't know, some of them have been good, some of them have been bad, but none of them really hit the same until Black Ops 6. Holy shit, dude. Everything in this game is fantastic, and I feel like they put a lot of care into the zombies. It's back to round-based, which is amazing, We have classic Easter eggs. I could not be happier with how it is. It feels like, they kind of lost themselves between Black Ops 4 and this. And I'm very glad that Treyarch has found their footing when it comes to, not just story and multiplayer, but zombies as well. Because zombies is kind of like, my go-to once I finish the camo grind. I really only play multiplayer until I'm done with the camos. Then it's all zombies. That's why I love doing the Easter eggs. I love trying to, go for high rounds. This game brought Call of Duty back into the light.
It absolutely did. And on the topic of zombies, I think the thing I was most impressed by and the thing I'm most thankful for, we didn't have to wait very long to get another new map. The game was out for maybe a month, and then Citadel de Mor came out, and Citadel de Mor is a fantastic map. Liberty Falls is a great, more casual, a little bit easier map. Terminus is a bigger, hardcore map. It's a lot tougher. Not many areas to train if you're going for high rounds. All three, the Easter eggs are very extensive, but they're not so extensive that you feel like you have to get lucky to beat them. Now, I say that while we have failed the Terminus Easter egg twice, but I will also say if we have a fourth person, looking at you, Alex Stacker, if we could have a fourth person join us, I feel like we could beat that no problem and move on just fine from it. I think that as a zombies player, this is the happiest I've been since Black Ops 3, and it's only beginning. Like, we have seen 3 really damn good maps, and there's still a lot more coming down the pipe. And, Black Ops 3 is a hard name to live up to. It had a fantastic DLC season. It dropped with Shadows of Evil, which is a fantastic map. Der Eisendrache was fantastic. Grod Krovi was fantastic. Zombie Chronicles then dropped as well and made it an even better offering. And I feel like by the time this game's run is done, I think that we're going to look at Black Ops 6 Zombies in a similar vein that we look at Black Ops 3, where Black Ops 3 is still very heavily populated, at least for zombies. Matt, I have to give you a little bit of credit. When I first started playing Call of Duty with you, you sucked. I'll just be blunt, you were not good. I'm not good at it either. But you were not good. You have improved vastly with the multiplayer, so tell me, the only way to get good at his multiplayer is to play it a lot. You've played it quite a bit. Why was this multiplayer for you different than in years past?
I'll be honest with you. It's really hard to say. I think that just I originally started playing Call of Duty games. I didn't really play a lot of first-person shooters, but gradually over the years, I have been playing more first-person shooters, and I think I just really finally grasped the concept of them, and I'm not great. I'm not really good, but I am.
You gotta play the game a couple times. Toot your own horn, try hard. It's okay.
Yeah. I want to say I did think I made improvements on zombies.
You did. I remember. I was going to say that too. I remember when we first started trying to teach you how to play zombies. We were having to revive you 15 times by round 10 on Noctur Untoten. So trust me, you have come miles from where you were when we started. So, Black Ops 6, and I think one of the biggest positives of all, fellas, in a year where, if anyone that games that listens to this podcast knows, gaming is a very expensive hobby. It's very expensive. It can price you out very quickly. Black Ops 6 being on Game Pass, one of the best decisions Xbox has ever made. One of the best decisions they've ever made, because I would pay full price for this game. I think it's worth that. But being able to play it on Game Pass and you get the entire offering for the subscription, that's a massive win for Xbox. And I hope, because there have been some telltale signs, I think in February or March, I think that the rest of the older Call of Duties are going to be coming to Game Pass. So Black Ops 2, the Modern Warfares, I think World at War, I think those are going to be coming to Game Pass because there are some telltale signs. I don't think this is the last Call of Duty that's going to come to Game Pass. And I hope that comes to fruition because I don't know about you, Kyle. I would love to play Black Ops 2 again on console. I would love to play it again. Yeah. And it also makes me excited for the direction of Call of Duty that supposedly COD 2025, the expectation is that it's going to be a direct sequel to Black Ops 2. And that has me very excited. So, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 comes in at number 5, 15 total points, beating Rise of the Ronin, which had 14. I will go ahead and tell y'all, it won't be until we get to the end of this list, this is not the last set of games that was decided by 1 point. This is not the last time you're going to hear me say that. But we have to get there first. Number 4. The first of, to go ahead and spoil one part of the list, the first of a couple Nintendo Switch games in the top 4. So Matt just got very excited, I can tell. But this is one that we all played it together. We played a ton of it. And you know what? I haven't told y'all yet, but when Thacker and his fiancée Tabby, when they came and visited me last, I beat him finally at this game. That spoils a little bit if you know us, because number 4 with 17 points is Mario Party Jamboree. So, Matt, we said it in the review. We said that this is, and I think, Kyle, you said this as well. We all agreed widely. This is, of Mario parties in the last, 10, 12 years, this is absolutely the best one we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
In that time frame. And it could go down, if they continue to update it like they have, it could go down as one of the best Mario parties of all time. Matt, what made this for you, the big Nintendo fan, what made this for you like a must-own Mario Party?
I mean, honestly, I like what I love about this game is just how much there is to do, because Mario Party games have just typically had a small amount of characters to pick, a couple of number of boards to pick from, but this one goes just, far out and beyond, with including multiple types of modes. So if you get bored of just, regular Mario Party, that you can just go and play something else, like where you have to fight.
Koopathlon is fantastic, by the way. I don't know if y'all played that. Koopathlon is fucking awesome.
It is great. It's like you going up against like 100 other players collecting coins, and by the end, and you're going around like this giant, like think of it like a marathon that you run. You start from point A, go in a giant circle to point B to the finish line. Whoever has the most coins, like it is great. I mean, there's even some weirder ones, like the flying school, where you have to hold the Joy-Cons of both hands out, like you got your wings stretched out. That was a little strange. But this one, on top of that, the boards are really great. The Mario Kart track is really good, where your character is in a cart. I also like the revival of some older levels, like the Cloud Sky level, where Bowser's on this tower and it flips around to Toad to Bowser. That was really great.
That was the board I beat Thacker on.
Nice.
That was the first time I'd ever played that board, and man, it felt so good to win.
Yeah, and the mall. The mall is probably my newest favorite level. I love the mall. I think it is really well done.
Kyle, can we talk about that board real quick? I don't want to cut you off too long here, Matt.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Can we talk about the fact that when we first played that board, we watched a CPU get 3 stars in one turn?
Dude, we really did. Yeah.
Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen a CPU do. Go ahead, Matt.
But yeah, it's just a variety. Like, this was, the magnum opus of Mario Party for me. If the next one does not have this much stuff, then it's just going to be a disappointment, because like this right now, this was peak Mario Party.
Here's what I've said, and I've told friends of mine that have looked at this and said, "Hey, I need a new party game to play. What should I go for?" And I've said this game because honestly, and I think Kyle, you might have said this on the episode, that if we don't get another Mario Party for a while, if they will just keep updating this one, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to love about this game, and Kyle, can we talk about the other crazy thing, the realization I think me and you had? The game got more fun when we put the CPU on Master. Like, I never envisioned that would be the case, but it's almost like the game, you couldn't just sleepwalk through the mini games anymore. It doesn't affect really the actual play on the board. It doesn't give the CPU better rolls or anything. But when we started doing that, Kyle, I feel like that is where this game's fun factor was really unlocked.
Yeah, I agree with both y'all when you say this game has a lot to offer, and it's one that I'm really glad that I picked up, especially after, the last couple of Mario parties. I mean, the one where they remastered all the old games, I mean, that was cool, but I mean, that was kind of a safe bet because everybody likes the old Mario parties, so obviously bringing them back, the old boards, the old games, that's a sure hit, but for something new and original, this game had so much to offer that I hope they keep updating it at least for a couple of years, if not until they're ready to release a new Mario Party, because they could just slow roll content, come out with some big update every quarter until you're ready for a new Mario Party game to come out.
I think the biggest thing that you just said, which is true, is them being able to slow roll this. And the reason why this is so different from any other game they've done where they constantly put out new content, this game doesn't feel like drip feeding. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like they gave us a full game at launch and they said, okay, this is the full game right now. We have got more content coming though. And if this is the trend that Nintendo goes in, this is a great way for them to transition from the Switch to the Switch 2. Because, well, sure, it may set higher expectations, which you're Nintendo, you should have. I think that is only going to force them to make better games because they've seen the reaction to Mario Party Jamboree. It reviewed really well. It's populated really well. This is a game. Mario Party Superstars died really quickly because there wasn't really anything new put in, and once you played each board a couple of times, the game more or less kind of got boring. I loved Superstars. But when it didn't get updated, I was sad because I'm like, that means Nintendo probably is done with this game. I don't think they're even close to done with Jamboree, and I hope that everything they add moving forward, I hope that it just keeps getting better and better and better, because this is quintessential Mario Party. This is what it should be. And if they don't feel the need to release one for 5 more years and they choose to just update this, I'm good. I'm good if it keeps getting updated.
I just have one thing I want to add about Mario Party. How seamless the online is and how great it is with no lag. And you can connect to your friends so quickly and get into a game so quickly.
Oh, how did we not mention this as well? Achievements being put into the game.
Oh, yeah.
How did we not mention that? That was one of the best additions they made.
Yeah, I liked that they had achievements in there and that they actually, meant something. They gave you in-game rewards and shit. That was cool because it made going for the achievements worth more than just bragging rights. You actually got in-game rewards. More Nintendo games should do that, because if you're not going to do overall achievements, this is absolutely a way to do it, because they did it in Luigi's Mansion, and this is now the second time we've seen Nintendo do achievements in-game, and they have in-game rewards. This, I think, is the move going forward, rather than doing an Xbox, PlayStation achievement trophy system. I would rather 100% of games achievements in-game if I'm getting rewards for every single achievement I'm doing.
This makes me want them I want them to force Game Freak to do that in the next Pokemon game.
Oh my God.
Give us rewards or give us a reason to want to complete the Pokédex. What if you complete the Pokédex, you get a Master Ball? Or what if you complete X amount of it, you get, a bunch of great rewards, or you get an opportunity to catch a super rare Pokemon.
And this, or different clothes, something.
Something. Give us something to want to play it for. Nintendo, we love this. Give us more of it in your other games moving forward, for sure. Into the top 3 we go. And this one I'm kind of scared to reveal. I'm kind of terrified to reveal this one. Not actually terrified, but I think that this top 3, again, I said at the start of the episode, the order is completely subjective. But I think in terms of the best 3 games that came out this year, we got the 3 best, in my opinion. So, number 3, with 21 points. It was in the top 3 by a very comfortable margin over Mario Party Jamboree. A game that you could almost mistake as being made by Nintendo. To give you an idea of what's about to come. It is a massive love letter to all of its fans. Goes over decades of history in gaming. Number 3 is Astrobot.
All right.
Let's fucking go.
I was waiting for Kyle to threaten to kill Matt there.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Kyle to kind of threaten Matt there a little bit. But I will say, Astrobot to me was a game, and Kyle, I'll let you kind of again take point on a lot of this. You're the big platformer guy. This game at the Game Awards won Game of the Year, and for a platformer to do that in a year where it may have been a down year, but there were still several high quality games that came out, it says a lot about a platformer if it's able to win Game of the Year, and it deserved it a ton more than a game like Black Myth Wukong. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. If you were hoping that game was going to be on this list, I'll go ahead and tell you. Black Myth Wukong is not number 2, and Black Myth Wukong is not number 1. So get that out of your head right now. If that makes you mad, I'm sorry. But Kyle, Astrobot, one of the best platformers that's ever been released, had the love and care as if Nintendo had made it about their Italian plumber themselves. But instead, I think this has given birth to PlayStation's new lead mascot.
Absolutely. And, for me, I think it was very special to see Astrobot win Game of the Year because it was never, it's never been a platformer. In every single year of the Game Awards, this is a first. I didn't think there would ever be a 3D platformer that would win Game of the Year because Crash Bandicoot 4 was probably the best shot we had, and that game was way too damn hard. So, Astrobot comes out and surprises the shit out of me. Oh my god!
That game was hard?
Bro, that game
I got the platinum in 20 hours.
I actually did get that platinum this year, and I'm very proud of that. But that's
you did get that platinum. I will allow you to shut that out because you did get that platinum, and I have to say, bravo, sir, because that took years of dedication.
Literally 4 years. If that's how much I love platformers, is this platinum took me 4 fucking years to do. I know if you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard us talk about it year after year.
We reviewed it when it first came out. Like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Like Crash Bandicoot 4 came out the first year we did the podcast.
Yeah, we reviewed that game.
Like,
and here we are.
Yeah, it did. Like, that's wild, dude.
All these years later, I finally platinumed it, man. It was such a relief. It was probably one of my greatest achievements in gaming because that is the hardest platinum I have and may ever earn.
Now, that being said, Astrobot's platinum did not take you that much time, but it's still a platinum I think all three of us are proud to have.
Oh, yeah. And I really got to shout out how much Team Asobi just gave the love to not just Sony franchises, but really video games. Because there were a lot of video games that, maybe were put on Sony first or, whatever, like Fall Guys and other stuff. But it really just showed their love for video games. And I'd say about 95% of them were Sony games, yes, but I love that they included other games that, are also on Xbox or also on PC, and on Nintendo. It was just pure joy from beginning to end, and there is not another game that I think came out this year that I can say I enjoyed as much, because this was a very short game, so I don't think it really gave me a lot of time outside of the time trial. Fuck the time trial ones. Those levels were not fun. And even then, they were pretty short except for the final one, the Master Challenge. That was when that was probably the only time during the game I did not have fun. Fuck the Master Challenge.
He's not Nebula. He did not have fun. It was that shit was not. Hey, listen, I got to shout out Matt before I ask you my next question, Kyle. Matt, I told Matt when I was on that level, and I started that level, I think at 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, okay, I've heard it's hard, but the harder levels that I've heard on this game, I'll beat it in an hour. It is what it is. Matt stayed up with me in a party for the next 4.5 hours. He heard me rage. He heard me get mad. He heard me cuss up a storm. But he kept encouraging me the whole way, and if it was not for that encouragement, I don't think I would have been able to do it. The funniest thing is the PlayStation records the clip of you getting each trophy. The funniest moment I've had this year in gaming, Matt, I don't know if you remember this, when I got up to the top and I saw the last bot, the first thing I said was, "What if I died here?" What if I died here? I think both of us, after hours of being so mad, I think that's the most either of us have laughed almost all year. Because it was that level sucked. That level was awful. But Kyle, I have an interesting question for you then, because when I got your list, I had an idea of what to expect from you. And I knew, and I told you guys when I put my list together, all of our lists were going to look pretty different. And I think that for the most part, that was true. Our lists did have a lot of diversity in them. Why was this not your game of the year?
You know,
And you don't have to say what your game of the year is, by the way. Don't say what your game of the year is. But I was just curious why it wasn't your game of the year.
and a lot of people are probably wondering why I said that this, was the most fun I've had in a game all year, yet didn't put it in my game of the year. And my reason for that is because this game is a little shorter than the game that I had put in my game of the year. Okay. While I did have a little bit more fun with this game, I did not play it for nearly as long. Now, I will say they are adding DLC, and there's content coming out, so maybe by the end of its life cycle I will, but I don't count that. I'm counting solely the base game. It was kind of a shorter game, so I just did not have as much time with it as I did with my game of the year, and I feel like that, because both games, I think, were equally as good to me. I loved both of them equally. I just played the other one more, and that was what took it over.
Fair enough. I was just curious because, again, when I got your list and I saw it, I was like, huh. Mm-hmm. I don't think I was expecting that. So, I had fair reason. I can't hate on that reason. I can't hate on what you put as game of the year either. I mean, I want to say this about the top three one more time. I love all three of these games. And I think that all three of these games, if you told me, no matter how the numbers shook out, if you told me that any of these three games got game of the year, I would be very content with that. Because I think that this, number 2 and number 1, are probably the only three games. Well, Mario Party Jamboree, Black Ops 6 are probably in that category as well. But in the sense of we'll always look back on these top three games and we're going to remember them very fondly. I think that these top three are in a category of their own in that sense. I think Astrobot very much falls within that realm as well. Matt, before we move on to number 2 and then get to the grand reveal, which you've probably, if you're listening, you've probably figured out what the 2 games remaining are. We just haven't gone over the order yet. Matt, I think that a lot of people used, this is basically bootleg Nintendo, or they used, this looks like it could have been made by Nintendo, essentially as a diss of this game. But I personally feel like, especially with Nintendo, they're one of their 2 biggest franchises, Zelda being the other. I think when one of their biggest franchises is a platformer in Mario, I feel like to be compared to that is one of the best compliments you could receive. Because in terms of a platformer, this game was fantastic. It gave you everything you could ask for. I'm pretty sure you feel the same, but have you kind of seen that same thing? And is that as stupid as it is to me, to you, that people have used that as a way to knock this game?
Yeah, I do. I think that a lot of people are just now, I want to say they're spoiled. Like, everybody's expecting this high-budget cinematic type of thing to go into their games now. But that's absolutely not a requirement.
No, I agree. I think that people's expectations with what this game is, and I mean, Kyle, we said it back when we got done with Astro's Playroom. We said, man, if we could get a full game of this that's not VR, oh my goodness, we'd be eating. Yeah. We would be eating as gamers. And man, it was very true with this one. Last thing about this game, before we move on to the top 2, what was y'all's favorite PlayStation reference in this game? Matt, I'll let you go first.
It was definitely, my favorite reference was finding Amaterasu from Okami. I was not expecting that, but thinking back at it, Okami first came out on the PlayStation 2. Unfortunately, it wasn't that popular. It gained more popularity over these past few years to the point where we even got a sequel announced. So that was a shocker to me.
Kyle, what about you? Oh, go ahead.
Mine was actually Spyro, because I did not expect to see him in here. Actually, I didn't expect to see quite a few in here because, I didn't see how they were going to even put him in costumes on the bots. They just said, fuck it, put him in there as their own characters. They really just put the actual Spyro model in there. He's not a costume. He's just chilling. That was really cool, especially because Spyro was my very first video game ever on the PlayStation 1, so to see him in the game really brought back a lot of that nostalgia, especially him and Crash. They started as PlayStation games, and I think that even though they are no longer PlayStation games, There's something that I will always associate with PlayStation just because of, them being my first games literally ever.
I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to give you guys two, if that's okay. For one, the FromSoft fan in me I think seeing how many games have come in this genre from PlayStation or their studios they've worked directly with, to me, that brought me a lot of happiness. Like, obviously, we knew Bloodborne, we knew Demon's Souls would probably be in there, but seeing a game like Neo get a little bit of a mention, seeing in the update, when you get the Demon's Souls equipment and the description of it is called an armored core, or gives you an armored core, like, I love, because that is ultimately, Sony Japan Japan Studios ultimately is where a lot of the Souls-like games began, and it's so cool seeing how many of those have been influenced and published by PlayStation. And I think for me, and Kyle, I know, is going to have a lot to clown me for this later, but as somebody who, shall we say, it's not my best gaming take I've ever had, that I did not think that Rift Apart was going to be all that great. It might not be my best gaming take ever, but as somebody who loved Rift Apart as much as they did, I was happy to see Ratchet, but I think I was more happy to see Rivet, because that tells me that she is just as important to this franchise now as Ratchet is. Like, maybe not as big of a part, maybe not more important, but it tells me, okay, maybe they're not done with her just yet. Maybe, just maybe, we have not seen the last of her, and I hope we haven't, because of the last several years, Rivet is one of my favorite characters in a game ever, and I think a lot of that has to do with just how good Jennifer Hale did at portraying her. So I think that it was a little bit of a knock by myself on the episode to say that the game does serve as a bit of a reminder of franchises that Sony has not done a lot with recently, but in playing through it more and more and doing as much as they sucked, the speedrunning levels, and then obviously the Christmas level, which was fantastic, I think that I'm beginning to gather more of an appreciation for the fact that it celebrates all of this history, and that's more of what it is instead of that reminder of games they've not done anything with. I think it's a celebration. I think that's what this game is. It was very deserving of Game of the Year, and if you're mad about it because the stupid monkey game didn't win, then I don't know what to tell you. So I loved Astrobot. Happy to see it make it this high. We've now gotten to the top two. So I have to tell y'all, there's a game that didn't make the list, and I don't believe, as I run back and check the votes real quick, I don't believe this game got a single vote, and that was rather surprising to me. And Kyle, it's a game I thought you were going to vote for. I was surprised that Helldivers 2 did not make your list.
Oh.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised by that.
I really, really liked Helldivers, and when it came out, I played the shit out of it. And then I stopped playing it.
And never played it again.
Because the devs stopped making it fun. And that is actually
Really?
I took it off of my list, because they kept just making it harder and harder and not giving us... I don't know. I felt like every time they would add something good to the game, it would get nerfed within a week. And it was like, okay, I understand that, at a certain point, like, you don't really want anybody to have a meta, but that's how it's always going to be. That's just how it is. Don't ruin the game because I like using the fire shotgun. Yes, the fire shotgun is really powerful against the bugs, as it should be. So nerfing it, making it useless, it really does make no sense, and it made me mad. I did not like that they kept just trying to make the game artificially harder, rather than allowing me to pick my difficulty, which is the whole fucking point, because if I'm playing on difficulty 7, I should be fine taking in the fire shotgun and whatever fucking meta shit I want to use, because I'm not playing on difficulty 10 or 11 or whatever the new highest is. If you want the game to be harder, add more difficulties, which they did.
Well, I got a lot of trauma by asking this question.
I really feel like at a certain difficulty, it's just unplayable, honestly. The whole entire game you're running, and it's just not fun. when they tried to do that for every difficulty, they just tried to make them all hard as shit. That ruined the game for me, and honestly took it out of my game of the year. Deleted the game. I know they just had a new big update, but I really don't care because the game just is not nearly as fun as it once was. And it's very sad because I think that this is one of the most promising live service games, and it died due to the negligence of the dev team wanting to just keep focusing on new content that they just nerf in a week instead of balancing the content that was already there, you know?
So, you know, it really does sadden me to hear that because we had a lot of fun when we played that game. I know I didn't enjoy it maybe as much as you did. I don't think it was as much my game, my kind of game as it was yours. But that was a lot of fun playing it, and it really does suck to hear that happened actually because it had a lot of promise to it. I mean, I just got done talking, you know, earlier in the episode about how when a game takes over the industry, Helldivers 2 took over. Like, massively. It was everywhere. And, I mean, I was hard-pressed on my friends' list to find somebody not playing it. More often than not, I was the only one that wasn't playing it. So, I mean, that saddens me to hear that. But I think that, you know, launch Helldivers 2 in terms of the community that it formed was peak. It was peak.
Absolutely.
Because the memes of "Greetings, citizen," like that was peak meme. I loved that. From that game to another that I was surprised didn't make a list, Matt. There was a game I was fully expecting to see on your list that didn't make it. So I have to ask, and maybe it's because you haven't played enough of it. I feel like you probably have played enough. I thought for a minute there that both of you might have this game on your list. I was really surprised that Marvel Rivals did not make it.
Well, the thing for me is Marvel Rivals didn't make my list is because of the fact that at the end of the day, it's still just a pure multiplayer type game. Like, it's fun. I've played it with some friends, and I think that it's got a really good concept, but I felt like it was too much like Overwatch for me. Okay. But I do like it. It is fun to play with friends, especially once you figure stuff out, because I'll be honest with you, when I first played it, I felt like some of the move pulls for the characters were a little complicated. But just over time that I eventually started picking up on it, and I'm doing really good. Like, I had a really good game a couple of nights ago. I was playing as Scarlet Witch, and I had like a 45 player kill streak. Like, she's kind of broken. And there's not a lot to the game other than you just hop in a game online, you play it, you do the objective, it's over. It didn't have a campaign. It didn't really have anything that, you know, like prioritized it over like any other games on my list.
Interesting. I mean, again, I don't know. I guess I thought when I saw the way you two talk about the game, because I've got it downloaded. I've not played it. I guess I've been waiting for all three of us to play it together. I do want to play it still. I hope that the two of you still have it downloaded because I've heard that it's a ton. I've heard that it's a ton of fun, and again, I love Marvel, so I'm not the recent MCU stuff, but I mean, I'm a big Marvel fan, so I mean, I guess I was a little surprised the way I saw both of you talk about it. I really thought that it would make at least one of your lists. Like, I was convinced that Helldivers 2 would make Kyle's list. I was convinced if it only made one of your lists, Marvel Rivals would make your list, Matt. So that was a little surprising for me to see neither of those games really represented, and neither of you mentioned them as honorable mentions. So when neither of you mentioned them there, I was like, wow, I guess those two were never really all that close. Like, it's one of those things that goes to show. I think, Kyle, if we had done the Game of the Year episode in the middle of the summer, Helldivers 2 probably would have been your Game of the Year. I think that's a very fair statement because when it launched, it was fantastic. Like, objectively, it was a fantastic game. Again, not my cup of tea. It was my
Game of the Year, actually, when it launched.
Yeah. Like it, and I don't know that it was necessarily particularly all that close at the time. I think that was your Game of the Year by a healthy margin. So, and then I mean, again, Marvel Rivals. Matt, I feel like hero shooters. That's a game that you're really good at. It's a game that you really a genre you really enjoy. You know, I think all three of us at one point had great love for Overwatch, and I think for all three of us, that love has dissipated a little bit, at least a little bit each. I know for me and Kyle more so than you, Matt. But I felt like Marvel Rivals kind of reinvigorated that genre, so that's why I expected it to be on your list. So it's not a problem that neither of them were. I got the lists and I was like, huh, okay then. Like, I guess I was just shocked. So, for anybody that has lost track of it, because I know that this episode is maybe we've gone down some rabbit holes that maybe we didn't originally envision ourselves going down. Number 10 on the list was Dead Rising Deluxe. Number 9, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Number 8, EA College Football 25. Number 7, Life is Strange Double Exposure. Number 6, Rise of the Ronin. Number 5, Call of Duty Black Ops. Number 4, Mario Party Jamboree. Number 3, Astrobot. And I think we all have an idea of what the next 2 games are. So, I mentioned earlier that the top 5 was not the only spot that was decided by 1 point. This is the closest the Game of the Year race inside Mission has ever been. Number 1 had 26 points. Number 2 had 25 points. It was close. Our number 2 game this year is Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Let's go.
Dude.
And Kyle, I'll let you show this game some love that it deserves. Because you have been at the front of the bus. You've been driving the bus of Zelda could use going back to its formula, its older formula that has worked for so long. Instead of just the big open world games, they went back to it, and they went back to it with astounding success. What was the best part of Echoes of Wisdom to you?
Man, the best part to me, I think, were the dungeons. That's so good to see a return to classic dungeons. Find keys, open doors, hidden chests, bosses. I mean, I know Tears of the Kingdom tried, but they just aren't the same. Shrines are not the same, and, you know, the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom were a lot better than Breath of the Wild. I think this showcased classic Zelda at its finest, and it also brought in a new twist because the main point of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is creativity. They kind of kept that with this, allowing you to essentially clone any item, monster, or anything in the game that you want, and place it down wherever. Essentially allowing you to tackle puzzles and, you know, boss battles. Any fighting, it can be done however you want. A lot of puzzles can be cheesed in a ton of different ways. I felt like possibilities were really endless when it came to the way that they allowed you to problem solve in this game. I loved that instead of, because in older games, you know, in dungeons you get one item and then that's with you forever for the rest of the game. Usually helps you out in other dungeons. In this game, dungeons didn't necessarily have one item. There were specific monsters or specific items that you could clone within those dungeons alone. So, while I was able to do, you know, up to a certain point, you can do any dungeon that you want, and then more dungeons unlock, and you can do any dungeon you want from there. I really enjoyed that they allowed me the freedom to still choose, you know, a couple of dungeons, but I had to complete both in order to progress to the newer dungeons because there were stuff I needed from them that I feel like was a great way to balance the formula between complete freedom open world and still locking stuff off between required items. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you can go straight to the boss. You don't have to do a thing. In this game, you could not. Just like older Zelda games, you have to have specific items in order to beat certain dungeons to get to the boss. There's a certain path you have to take, and this still had a set path, but it allowed you to say, okay, well, there's 3 dungeons, do whichever one you want, but you have to beat all 3 in order to progress. In my opinion, I think that they should keep this formula going forward for the 3D games, because it was phenomenal the way that they didn't try too hard to make this a top-down Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. A lot of the mobile Zelda games are top-down, if not all of them are top-down, excluding a couple of the DS games. This was honestly right alongside a lot of the top-down games like Minish Cap, you know, like A Link to the Past. It fit so well, and the chibi art style, I think, is great. A lot of people hated it with Link's Awakening. I personally really enjoy it. I'm glad they came back to it here, and I hope they keep doing it with further, quote-unquote, handheld Zelda games. I guess all of them are technically handheld since it's on the Switch, but this is what would be considered a handheld, like Game Boy DS game. I like the art style, and I hope they bring it back.
I think what I love the most about this game, I love how every area felt unique. You do ultimately end up kind of following the same formula of, hey, go meet the leader of this area, do something to help the leader of that area, then do the big dungeon in it. But it never really felt like you were doing the same thing twice. And in games like this, it could be very, very, very easy to maybe feel a little bit of fatigue where, okay, I've done this a couple times before, I don't really like doing it now. But this game didn't really have that happen, and each area having their own vibe. I know it seems corny to say, but having their own music to where no area really felt the same. Areas felt more peaceful, some felt more at conflict, some felt more at odds with other people within the community you'd be going to. I mean, Matt, it felt like every area you went to was a breath of fresh air, and I don't feel like I did the same thing twice. Like, I loved the Deku Village. I loved that when you had to break out of jail and you had to get creative on how to do it. Like, I love that because, again, it's like I haven't had to do this yet. This is fun. This makes me think. It makes me have to be creative, and I can't just use a flying tile to cheese everything in this. I have to actually be smart and figure out the puzzle. I felt like the gameplay is ultimately what made this game so unique and so fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, what's that? One of the areas that stuck out to me was the fact that they took two different types of Zora species, the Ocean Zora and the River Zora, and because we have not seen the River Zora in a while, it's been a long time. So I like the fact that they managed to take and get both of them into that part of the map in that area. And I also like their missions as well. You had like the Zora leaders were feuding with each other, but they're good friends. And then you had what was the name of that fish? Was it Jabu?
I think so.
Basically, like their deity, their god. And honestly, one of my favorite boss fights is when you are fighting inside of him, and you're like on top of like different objects, and you can summon more objects to stay above the water as he is sucking it in. I thought it was really creative, and how they iterated the echoes. Like, I mean, being able to use echoes to summon higher level tier enemies, because you start with the basic ones and you can get up to like level 3 ones like Lizalfos. Those were really cool. And I also like the tears that you could go into, where everything is just kind of like topsy-turvy, where water is going up and you have to swim up in it. You can manipulate objects to stand on it while in the water. And then just like different sections, like as you mentioned, the flying tiles was one that I use a lot, as well as the levitating platform. I abuse the hell out of that one, and I also like the fact that you collect these mites. I don't want to call them mite seeds, but something like that give you the power to basically become Link. You're like Zelda with the sword and the shield, so that was really cool. Like, they really thought about everything in this game. And one thing that I said before in the episode when we recorded for it was the fact that this literally was old school Zelda mixed in with the creativity of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, because I've seen people doing some really crazy shit on Twitter videos and things like that. Just being, I'm seeing things like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or when you're in certain areas like in an ice cave and you take damage because you're cold, you can summon a lantern to keep you warm and just drag it along with you. Like, they thought outside of the box with this one.
Another thing I love, this is something that I absolutely abused in some of the boss fights, being able to just summon a bed that you can sleep in to get health back. I mean, it's like one of the best items you get is about halfway through the game, you get Zelda's bed, and you can just summon it and get almost all your health back, and that's just cool. Like, again, it goes back to something I said in the episode, in that, Tears of the Kingdom, they said that, okay, sometimes it's fun to be able to cheat. It's fun to be able to do whatever you want to do. And that's very much the case here, where like something like the flying tile, like you can use that, and in a lot of cases you can just cheese what's happening or the puzzle you're facing just by spawning in a flying tile and using it to get across a gap, or using it to get to a part of the map that you couldn't otherwise get to. And I think that is so cool, being able to do stuff like that. It's something that'll make me want to replay this game as the years go by. I'll want to return to this game and play it again and again, because it's okay. How can I play this differently than I did the first time? And I love that personally. So, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, a really damn good game, and in our list was 1 point away from winning our Game of the Year. But as always, with the 4 previous years, there can only be one winner of Game of the Year. And I don't know that there's really any sense in me trying to draw it out, because I think all 3 of us know what game is left at the top of our list. I said when it first came out that it was one of my favorite games I've ever played. I hold to that. I think, Matt, you felt the same way. And that is our Game of the Year for 2024, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And part of me knew that was coming, and now I want to edit that out of the episode. I want to edit that out of the episode almost. But Matt, me and you, I think all 3 of us had a very, very fond appreciation of this game and all the things that it did in it. It added a lot of content. It certainly gave new life to the second part of this 3-part remake series that they're on. Makes me excited for what is going to happen potentially in part 3. Yeah. The episode we did is one of my favorite episodes that we've done. It was a fantastic episode where we broke down the ending. As convoluted as it was, and as crazy as it was, we're not going to spoil any of that here, or what happens in the ending here. But Matt, in terms of an action RPG, this is one of the best that's ever been made.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, this just, Final Fantasy VII Remake, took everything we knew about Final Fantasy VII and just flipped it all upside down. But then Rebirth took everything from Remake and then flipped it all upside down. Just, it's Final Fantasy VII and characters and in setting and most of the story, but so much of it is just so different, and they did a great job with it. I like the fact that, Sephiroth is actually someone that, I'm scared of. This man, like, as we know it, this is not the Sephiroth we knew from Final Fantasy VII. Like, this is a Sephiroth that knows he loses and comes and just changes everything that we know. The combat here is fantastic. I love the materia system has always been one of my favorites. I feel like every character in this game gets a shining moment, from Barret, from Red 13, Cloud, Tifa, Aerith especially gets just so much recognition here.
Yeah, what I've told people, not to cut you off, what I've told people is that if Remake was Cloud's game, and it very much is, then Rebirth is very much Aerith's game. I know you play as Cloud for 90% of the game, but this game is as much about Aerith, if not more about Aerith, than it is about any other character.
Yeah, and I also really like the level design here as well. There's a lot of familiar places. What the name of the I'm freaking drawing a blank here. I hate that's happening to me. It's where all the mini games, arcade stuff is. What's it called, Rusty?
Oh, the Gold Saucer?
Yes, the Golden Saucer. Thank you. I love when you get to the Golden Saucer, like, the game just freaking opens up, and like, it is so much fun. Like, Final Fantasy VII, the original game, did have like a lot of mini games and everything, but like, they just made it so much fun here. Again, going back to the story, I really like what they're doing with it. Like, it just, you don't expect it. There's a lot of twists here, and the cast is phenomenal. Like, everybody just did such a great job with their roles here. Just the different levels that you go through are so different. So, they're like, it's not a copycat kind of thing where you feel like you've already been here, you've already done that. It just keeps you on your toes. I can't say enough about this game that to this very day, like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about that ending. I'm still thinking about where they're going to go with it. And I also listen to that song over and over again on my Spotify.
I mean, that I'll go ahead and just be real with y'all. Like, on my Spotify Wrapped, that was my number one song. Like, No Promises to Keep was absolutely my number one song. Kyle, we can't talk about mini games in this game without mentioning the GOAT mini game. And Square Enix, I'm begging you, please release a mobile version of this game, please. Because Kyle, one of the best additions into this game is Queen's Blood, and it's just so addicting. It was something that going in, I saw in reviews, and I said, I'll probably play it once or twice. And man, I did the entire Queen's Blood quest, and I was like, I would do it all again.
You know, if The Witcher can release a physical version of Gwent, then Final Fantasy has no excuse. Square Enix, your move. I'm waiting because that Gwent comes out next year, dude, and I see no reason why you can't have a rival. I'm gonna be honest, I've never played Gwent, but this could be a good rival to it. I would even go as far as to say a mobile app would do numbers, because just like Pokemon TCGP, you could battle people online in Queen's Blood, which is like the entire point. That would be a hell of a lot of fun, and whereas we're in different states, I can't necessarily be like, hey guys, come over, let's play some Queen's Blood, but I could hop on the app or whatever and we could battle, because that has to be one of the greatest minigames in video games, period, because I'm so serious, I was doing story stuff until I got to a new city and said, alright, pause, we're finding every motherfucker who wants to play cards. Every single time.
Listen, Barry, your trauma doesn't matter. Queen's Blood.
Like literally every new area, I was like, listen, I know I am deep into one of the craziest stories in video game history, but this card game has me in a chokehold.
Listen, I know this cruise ship that I'm on, I know it's being attacked, but I got a daggum Queen's Blood tournament to win.
Man, that was so fun.
I loved Queen's Blood so much, and here's the part for me with all the side content, because everyone says, it's a game built on minigames. Here's the thing. The stories that are told within these minigames are fantastic. Like the stories that are told when you go and you play all the Queen's Blood matches, or when you go and you finish the area, or you finish, whatever the side mode, or whatever the objective is, and you go and you fight a boss in an entirely hidden area of the map. Like all of the side modes, there's a method to all of it. There's a method to all of the madness, and it works together so well. And Matt, I'd be remiss. I mentioned Aerith. I'd be remiss if I didn't do what you did. You have to give a lot of praise to Sephiroth as well, because Sephiroth is a different level of badass in this story. He is he's bad in Remake, but in Rebirth, he becomes one of the best modern video gaming villains ever. Because as you said, it is a version of Sephiroth that knows how the story goes. He knows he is destined ultimately to lose this fight. He knows that what has to happen for him to win means that he has to go about it entirely different. And that is told so well in this story. And again, it has me excited for what the third part of this remake series, it has me excited for what they could do in that game. Because I think, Matt, I think that we are looking at what could end up going down as one of the best trilogies in modern video games.
Oh yeah, agreed. Like Sephiroth's presence, like the thing I love about this game is that Sephiroth's presence is felt everywhere that you go. And like I love the way that this game opened up with, what happened in Nibelheim with Sephiroth, finding out exactly, about his creation and, how it made him feel, so he completely destroyed Nibelheim. And I mentioned this before in the podcast that we covered for this, is how Cloud's memories are just, he's the one telling the story as if he is the one who experienced this, but it wasn't him, it was Zack. Which took me out for a little, I was like, wow, so Cloud thinks, Cloud has, Zack's memories. And, just with the soldiers that are just, there's a whole part in the game where you have to follow these members of soldier that have been taken over by the what do you call it? The
degradation, yeah.
Yeah, the degradation that's going on with them. And like I said, I cannot predict about like how this game's going to end. Like obviously, the next part 3 is going to have like a lot of things that we know from the original game, but it's going to switch it up just like Remake and what Rebirth did. Like I really have no idea what Sephiroth is is planning here, like what his end goal is. I mean, obviously, his whole entire thing is to create Meteor to completely destroy everything, and that's why Aerith did what she had to do, so she could fight back this impossible power and fight Sephiroth. And I'm just gonna say it because we talked about the podcast. The game's been out for a while. What they
did. We ain't trying to spoil the ending now. Hold on. We ain't trying to do all that. Kyle ain't beat me yet. We ain't trying to do that yet. No.
All right, let's stop right there. But I'm just gonna say this. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, or if you're just a fan of RPGs, you owe it to yourself to play these games. Like, they're absolutely worth it. There's a lot to do here. I never once got bored playing the game. I never once felt like the game got too hard. Like, there's so much strategy that goes into it, from just what material, what weapons, and everything. Like, who in your party to have equipped. Like, the variety in this game is just great. And honestly, like, I definitely want to replay it eventually. It's just such a long game, and there's so many other games that have been coming out, but I do plan on going back to replay it.
Yeah, this is Kyle. I hope you're enjoying this, because this is going to be our Crash 4. This is going to be
Crash 4. We'll platinum it 4 years from now.
And we'll platinum it after the other game has come out and been out for a year. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, fantastic game. Absolutely loved it from beginning to end. Thought about the ending for forever after this came out. I had to go, y'all don't know, I had to go cover state tournament basketball after finishing this story. And all I could think, the first 2 games I had to cover was, damn, I just want to be home playing more of this game. That's all I could think about. So, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is our fifth edition of Side Mission Game of the Year. And fellas, I just want to say, I have watched several of my friends try to launch podcasts. They have tried. And for whatever reason, they either don't get off the ground, or they get off the ground for maybe a month and then they're gone. They don't do them anymore. We have made it going on 5 years of doing Side Mission. It has not always been easy. It has not always been fun. We have very much had our wars with each other over the course of us doing this for the last several years now. But I, for one, am proud every day that we have kept this going, regardless of everything that has happened. Yeah, like this, agreed. This is something I'm very proud that we have gotten to keep Side Mission alive year after year after year. When it seemed like it might die, when me and Kyle were up at 4 a.m. editing the first episode, when we've had our knockdown dragouts off the record, I am super proud we have overcome all of that, and we are still going. And 2025 is going to be another big year for Side Mission. So that is going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can follow us on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening, and we wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas.